morning. Although we had a sharp winter, I reckon it's the winds we get in March that takes the steam out of elderly folk like me. Now the mornings are lighter. It seems a crime not to be out and about afore breakfast. But it does seem a pity when the winds fetches such tears to your eyes, it's hard to take pleasure in the sunrise. A month ago, the snow was whipped into wicked drifts round here by fierce blizzards. It whisked across the field at the back of our cottage, cascading like a waterfall from our back door right up to the cabbage patch. And watching from the window in the warmth of the kitchen, I was admiring the smooth curves of these drifts. And I realised they was exactly like the sand dunes I loved to play on at the seaside when I was a kid. And in the old days, the big field by the cottage wasn't one field, but 5, ranging from the 10-acre patch, as it was called, to the donkey paddock. The field was played by horses, which could only move about an acre a day. That was when everything was in their favour. But between the wars, tractors came into vogue, which needed a bit more space to manoeuvre. So the donkey paddock got knocked into the 3 acres next to it. And gradually the rest of the hedges came out to cope with combine harvesters and huge 4-wheel drive tractors that need a fortnight's notice to turn round. Nowadays, when March winds dry the earth to fertile, crumbly dust, that blows across the cottage too, to look like the sand dunes as I remember. But the beauty of these drifts is deceptive, because what they've done is skim the fertility off the fields. Well, now, Nigel has come back from Africa with some strange stories. And last weekend he was entertaining the folk in the pool with them.
Oh, no. I'll be going there again. You know what they say. Once you drink the water of Africa, you can never get away.
Is that right?
Yes. And Juliet used to say that was because the first explorers used to take one mouthful of it and die on the spot. What a girl.
I always thought you had to boil it.
My uncle would say I wouldn't know because I'd never drunk any.
Oh, dear. Didn't you get on?
Oh, yes. Yes, like a house on fire. Only he was a bit stingy with his booze.
Would you like another drink now?
Oh, no, I'm fine. Anyway, I must be going soon. I'm taking Shula out.
Are you?
With a crowd. But still, it's a turn up for the books, isn't it?
Oh, well, you know what they say. Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
And what the eye doesn't see, the heart doesn't grieve over. It seems to have had that effect on Lizzie. But Shula can't get enough of my traveller's tales. I was telling her about this elephant in the Wanky Safari Park.
Well, don't let me keep you if you're late.
Nasty piece of work. Looked a lot like that old elephant I gave Jethro. Has he shown it to you?
Oh, yes. Yeah, quite a lot. He thinks it'll bring him luck.
Oh, I'm sorry, Neil. Gosh, would you like one? I might have one spare.
No, that's all right. It's nice of you to offer.
I've got a little something here for Emma. I might give it to Susan before I go.
Oh, that was a kind thought. She will be pleased.
I tried to get a little something for everyone. That's why I popped in here tonight. Thought it was the best place to catch people.
Hey, you did look a bit like Father Christmas when you came in.
Nice to see Susan back behind the bar. Is it permanent?
Oh, no. Just helping out now and again. Bit of extra money. It all helps.
But the egg business is doing well. I saw your van outside with a sign. Most impressive.
Yeah, it'd be a darn sight better if I could get the money from the old van.
Why? Who did you sell it to?
Eddie. He must have been mad.
Never mind. Perhaps your Susan will have more luck getting the cash off him.
Susan? Oh, I didn't notice he'd come in.
Well, from the look on his face, I think perhaps he wishes he hadn't.
Oh, come on, darling. There's no need to be like that about it.
There's every need. And don't you darling me.
When I've got the money, you can have it.
You have the money. You spent it on a new shirt. If it had been something for Clary or the children, I could have understood it. But a new shirt?
You have to speculate to accumulate.
All you accumulate is other folks' money.
That new shirt was an investment. Attracted the punters. Got us quite a few bookings. Now, when I get paid for them...
Oh, yeah. When are they?
Well, Easter mainly, but...
Well, you're in for a long, dry spring then, Eddie, while I'm barmaiding here. Because I'm not serving you.
You can't do that.
Oh, yes, I can. Wasting your money on drink when you owe it to me and Neil.
Your paint ain't going to make much difference.
It all adds up.
Is he bothering you, Susan?
Hello, Susan. Lovely to see you again.
Only trying to buy a drink.
Oh, Mr. Pargeter, how nice to see you. Did you have a good time?
Yes, thanks. And I brought a little something back for Emma.
Oh, really? You shouldn't have. Oh, that's lovely. Look, Neil, a little elephant. Isn't that unusual?
Yes, Susan. Isn't it?
Nigel, how nice to see you. You're the last person I expected to see in church this morning. Hello, Sheila.
Morning, Richard. You should have seen the state he was in last night.
Sheila. Well, perhaps I felt in need of shriving.
It's not as if you're a regular member of our parish.
Or any other. Did Tim Beecham drop you in the porch this morning? Have you slept at all?
Of course I have. Well, I was in the neighbourhood and it seemed like a good idea. Being in Africa, you know, it makes you think.
I didn't even realize you were back. Is this just a flying visit?
Oh, yes.
You'd better come home with me and tidy up before you let your mother see you.
Those nights under the starlit African skies. It makes you wonder. What's it all about?
And did you come up with any answers?
Not really.
Nigel, if you do want to wash and shave, you'd better get a move on. Dad stopped playing the organ. Morning, Mr. Adamson. Schuler, Mr. Pargeter.
Morning, Susan.
I see what you mean. Perhaps we can chat when we've got some more time. Sheila, come on. Hello, Susan.
Goodbye, Susan. Bye, Richard. Oh, bye. Well, they're in a hurry. Going somewhere special, are they?
No, I don't think so. Only back to Brookfield. Well, it's nice to see you, Susan. All these fresh faces in church this morning.
I know I don't come as often as I might.
It's difficult for you with the baby. And you're back at the bull now, aren't you?
Only doing bits and bobs. But every little helps.
I expect Neil's egg business makes a lot of work for you.
Yeah, it is a worry. But not everybody sees that.
I know how much Dorothy has to get involved with my job. I don't know what I'd do without her.
I do try to help. He won't stand up for himself. That's Neil's trouble.
It's a hard world. We've all got a bit of fighting to do.
That's what I think. But he doesn't seem to see it. Anyway, it's been nice talking to you, but I mustn't keep you.
Actually, I would like to catch Tom if I can. More trouble with the churchyard. It's awfully overgrown at the far end.
Oh, dear.
There's actually a bit of money to pay someone to clear it, but no one seems to be interested, and it's too much for Tom.
Perhaps you're asking the wrong people.
Yeah, I think we must be.
Hello, Richard. Susan. You haven't seen Shula by any chance?
I think she's gone, but Tom was looking for you, and I'm hoping to catch him myself.
Oh, I'd better be going. This won't get the dinner cooked.
Bye, Susan.
Bye.
Bye.
It's not about Aunt Laura's will, is it?
No, the churchyard. Why, have there been any developments?
No, that's the point. And we can't do a thing until we find it. Oh, well, if Shula's gone, I might as well see what Uncle Tom wants. Larry went to put Edward down for a nap. Went to sleep herself. But I can soon wake her.
Don't you dare. And lower your voice, please. I've only just this minute got Emma off to sleep.
Oh, you're stopping, are you? No telling when Clary will wake up.
Well, that's all right. I'd like to see her, of course. But it was you I came for, really.
Me? I thought you weren't speaking to me.
I found you a job.
A job? Oh, so very much, Susan. But I've got a job. Or do you think this farm runs itself?
Yeah, by the looks of it. A little odd job. Bring you in a bit of extra cash.
Oh, I see. So I can pay you off.
That's right. My word, Eddie, aren't you quick?
No need to get sarky. You've got some funny ideas about the best way to get a bloke to do you a favour.
A favour? You owe me and Neil £200. We could take you to court.
I don't know what all the fuss is about. Neil's got a little gold mine in them eggs. Surely he can wait a bit.
No, he can't. That £200's going to buy us proper fitted carpets so Emma can crawl around without getting splinters in her knees.
Well, say no more. I mean, it's fitted carpets we're talking about.
I put a deposit on the one I want, but they'll sell it if I don't get in the balance by the weekends.
I can't lay my hands on 200 quid by then.
You'd better. And you can start by clearing the churchyard.
Do what?
The vicar wants some work done in the churchyard. He's willing to pay.
How much?
Well, I don't know, but every little helps. And I'm not resting till I've got every penny out of you.
Does Neil know you've come round?
Of course. We don't have secrets in our marriage. He's right behind me.
I wish he was in front of you, darling. I'd rather him to deal with any day of the week.
Good of you to offer to undertake the work, Eddie. I was quite at my wit's end. That's all right. Anything to help the church.
I do get paid for it, don't I?
Oh, yes, about £20, we thought.
Oh, yeah. I think I'll find that is the going rate.
The going rate for what? We haven't discussed what you're going to do yet.
You're going to give me a list, are you?
Well, there's trimming the hedges for a start, and you have to be careful. Don't want to disturb the birds if they've started nesting.
Skilled work, this, Vicar. Having to pick and choose. Shall we call it £25?
Oh, well, perhaps we'd better. When do you think you can get started?
Oh, now you're asking. Really busy on the farm, with the cow still in all the time.
Oh, I didn't think you brought yours in.
Spring ploughing, getting the fences seen to, milking and mucking out. How about Wednesday?
Oh, yes, Wednesday would be fine. If you could drop in at the vicarage on your way down, I'll come and show you what I'd like done.
Afternoon, Richard. Eddie.
Hello. Afternoon, Nigel. Come for our chat.
Isn't it beautiful? An English churchyard on a spring afternoon.
A bit nippy, I reckon. Shouldn't be surprised if it snowed.
I saw a brimstone butterfly as I came in. And I think a tortoiseshell.
I saw a pair of buzzards.
Yes, we do seem to attract them.
The chaffinch singing, and a carpet of celandine beneath my feet.
It's all the dead bodies. Makes the soil rich.
I don't know about a carpet, Nigel. Not yet, anyway.
Well, your imagination runs riot when you've been gazing at the parched brown earth under a pitiless sun.
You're not very brown, are you? You sure you've been to Africa? Haven't just been lurking in London, living it up.
Mr. Archer really is a most extraordinary man, is he? I've just had lunch with him. It depressed me a bit.
Wish I'd thought of it. Going to London.
Phil's a bit hot-tempered at times, perhaps, but basically good-hearted.
Well, if you say so, Christian charity and all that. But so is Mrs. Archer inviting me to supper. And do you know what he said?
Surprise us.
If I planned to take up permanent residence in his house for the rest of my stay, perhaps I wouldn't mind leaving him in peace for just one afternoon, so he could get used to the idea.
You are going back to Africa, then?
Sunday afternoons are so sacrosanct to some people.
Rude, I call it. Yes, I am going back, Eddie. I'm going back very soon, so don't keep harping on about it.
Feel guilty? Oh, Freddie, why ever should you feel guilty? No one could ever have been a better friend to Aunt Laura.
Well, it's nice of you to say so, my dear, but I wasn't actually thinking about her. More the family.
There's even less reason to feel guilty about us. We're just grateful to you for looking after us so well.
But I didn't... Well, I mean, I wasn't expecting any reward. Her leaving the house is so embarrassing, especially since we can't find the will.
Oh, don't be so silly, Freddie. This is your home. What use would Ambridge Hall be to any of us?
You could sell it.
Well, no one in the Archer family is precisely down to their last fibre.
Tom and Tony.
Oh, take no notice of Tony. He's never got over having less pocket money than Lillian and me because he was younger.
If I had any money, I'd advance it to them.
Now you're being ridiculous. What's Tony been saying to you?
Well, he hasn't said anything. It's just that he comes round here such a lot.
Prizing the floorboards up, no doubt. Well, we'll see about that.
I only wish he would find the will. Nothing would make me happier.
My brother has about as much tact as a steamroller.
It's just that sometimes I catch him looking at me in a funny way. I wonder if they think I've hidden it.
Well, why would you do that? The whole thing's turning ludicrous. And Uncle Tom comes round too.
Well, only to see how I am. But he does it so very often.
Oh, poor Freddie. As if losing Aunt Laura wasn't enough for you to cope with.
I don't think I'm coping very well.
Nothing Tony did could shock me. But I am surprised at Uncle Tom.
It's probably my fault. I'm overreacting.
Well, of course it isn't your fault. They ought to be ashamed of themselves. And I'm going to make sure that they are.
Tony won't be long. He's doing a bit of ploughing. He wants to reseed the long field with a clover lay.
Oh, I only popped in for a chat. Not really important.
Have a cup of tea. Is it anything I can help with?
Oh, I just wondered if Tony'd been round to Ambridge Hall lately.
No, he's trying to ration his visits to 3 a day. Oh, Uncle Tom, not you too.
I only wondered how the Colonel was bearing up, and
whether he'd found the will yet. No, he hasn't.
I only wondered, Pat. There's no need to get sharp with me.
I'm sorry, Uncle Tom, but I'm finding this whole experience very disillusioning. I knew you'd only got to show Tony half a crown and he'd leap on it, but I thought better of you.
Has anyone ever left you £1,000?
No. No, they haven't. And I hope they never will.
You would know what to do with it?
Well, I honestly can't think I want anything for myself. I'm not being priggish, I really can't.
No, not for yourself, perhaps, but for other people. The point is I want to take Prue on a cruise.
Cruise. Oh, I see.
She hadn't seen much of the world, my Prue, or had many holidays. And she's always fancied a cruise.
I'm sorry. I should keep my big mouth shut, shouldn't I?
Oh, that's all right, Pat. But you see, it ain't the money. It's what you can do with it.
Look who I met in the yard, unfortunately.
It's nice to be made so welcome. Oh, Uncle Tom, good. Now I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Afternoon, Jennifer. You want some tea?
Something you wanted, was there, Jennifer?
She wants to give you a lecture on the evils of money. Talk about the pot calling the kettle black.
It isn't that at all. But being so insensitive to someone's grief.
Oh, I've done all that, Jennifer. Don't make poor Uncle Tom sit through it again.
Oh, your boy haven't been insensitive, I'm sure. I think Freddie wants it cleared up as much as we do.
Oh, nobody could be as sensitive as this pair. They've taken prizes in it.
Yes, well, I was surprised at you, Uncle Tom, I must say.
Could I have a quiet word with you, Jennifer, before you go any further?
I wish somebody would tell me exactly what it is I'm supposed to have done that's so dreadful.
She wasn't surprised at me, you'll notice.
Poor Freddie's in a terrible state. He thinks you and Tony are imagining he's hidden the will.
Yes, well, Tony does think he's hidden it.
Is that what he said? Oh, dear. Do you think the shock of Laura passing away sent him a bit funny?
Yeah, that's why he's hidden the will.
It's not a joke, Tony. The poor man's lost his best friend and companion, and all you can do is harass him.
If anyone's driven him round the bend, it's you.
Poor Freddie. Well, we shall get that sorted out.
I suppose so.
I should think so. When he came upstairs and found you turning Aunt Laura's mattress, it's a wonder he didn't die of shock himself.
Tony, how could you?
Under the mattress, eh? Now, I never thought of that.
No luck, Uncle Tom. It wasn't there.
It's good of you both to come round. People have been so kind.
Aunt Laura was very much loved. Whatever folks might have said about her.
I still can't quite realise she's gone.
It does take some getting used to, especially if you're still living in the same house. They say time is a great healer, but I've never found it much help.
Yes, and having to make an inventory of all the things. They remind me of her so much.
You shouldn't have bothered. There'll be time enough. Talking about things that remind you of folk.
Seems so ridiculous that they're still here and she isn't.
Not now, Mum. You can see Freddie's upset. Well, you were the one that said he wouldn't mind me mentioning it.
What's that, Mrs. Burton?
Nothing, Freddie. It doesn't matter. I wasn't going to say nothing until you'd found the will, but Peg said you wouldn't mind.
Did Laura leave you something in the will? I didn't realise.
Not exactly, but Mum wondered.
Laura always said I was to have her silver teapot to remember her by.
Oh, the one she kept for best, you mean? Oh, yes, had it.
Oh, really, Freddie, it doesn't matter.
Thank you. I know she wanted me to have it. I'll go and fetch it now, shall I? I know where she kept it.
Oh, yes, by all means. It's still in its old place. I'll make a note on the inventory for Phil.
Oh, really, Mum? Oh, Freddie, I'm sorry. But it really is a sentimental value to her. I mean, she won't sell it or anything.
Oh, my dear Peggy, I don't care what she does with it. If it gives her a moment's pleasure, that's enough for me.
And I'm sure it'll be all right with Phil.
I only wish I could get some comfort from Laura's things.
Hello, Freddie. Mum, I brought you some visitors.
Afternoon, Freddie. Hello, Mum.
Hello, Peggy. I hope this ain't too much for you, Freddie.
Oh, I don't know. Mum's here already.
Not at all. I quite miss not seeing you today.
Yes, well, they've come to apologise about that.
Yeah. Sorry if we've been harassing you, Freddie.
We didn't realise we were upsetting you.
I don't know that all this excitement is doing him much good, Jennifer. Why do you have to be so dramatic about
Not
everything?
at all. I'm glad you mentioned it. It's cleared the air. Not that there's anything to apologise for.
There you are, you see, Mum. These things are much better out in the open.
Yeah, it's all the same to me, Freddie, if you never find the will. It's only money.
Yes, and I'd probably get seasick anyway.
Seasick? Oh, Mum, you found the teapot then?
Oh, Gran, not you as well.
Go on, Jennifer, there's your cue. Money is the root of all evils. You ever mention Mr. Bryan?
Is something the matter, Mrs. P?
Mummy, you ill? You look quite pale.
You'd look pale if you'd found what I found. Look what was in the teapot.
Good Lord, it's the will. The will at last.
Oh, Gran, you clever girl. Well, that is a relief, I must say.
Now you can stop worrying, Freddie.
Is it all right, the same copy?
Yes, it looks like the original. All the provisions seem to be the same.
Oh, good.
Could you just look and see if she added anything about the teapot at the end? Oh, Mum, you got it anyway.
I can't see anything, Mrs. Perkins, but you must keep it naturally. I would like... Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, Laura.
Oh, what is it, Colonel? What's the matter?
She has left you the house. You said all the provisions were the same.
Look at the bottom of the will. She hasn't signed it.
I shan't be in to lunch. Aunt Laura's solicitor can fit me in this morning.
That was good of him at such short notice.
He wants this business settled quickly as much as we do.
It isn't going to be settled quickly, is it? Whatever must Aunt Laura have been thinking of?
When Freddie showed me the will, I thought all our troubles were over. But then when he told me she hadn't signed it...
She hadn't signed a copy at the solicitor's?
Oh, of course not. That was just a draft. They sent the original for her approval. Normally they'd expect her to bring it back to the office to be signed.
Didn't they think it was odd when she didn't?
They wrote to her a couple of times, apparently, but she could have got 2 witnesses at home or changed her mind completely. You can't force people to make a will.
Do you think that she did change her mind?
Well, we'll never know, shall we? I expect she just forgot.
Of course, old people get superstitious about their wills. They think it's like signing their death warrants.
Oh, it's a darn nuisance. And I've got 1,001 things to do on the farm now we're lambing.
You want me to go in for you? I saw him before.
No, I'm the executor. I'll have to sort it out. Though Lord knows how.
You can't use that will.
Well, I don't see how. So, unless there's a previous one still extant, and if she'd got any sense, she'd have destroyed that.
Heavens, she might have left things to quite different people. What a mess.
Just as much a mess as if she hadn't left one at all. Lord knows what we do then. Oh, well, I'm not going to think about it. I'll just finish my coffee and get off to Hollitree. There's a sow Neil's worried about.
Has he got the money off Eddie yet for his van?
Good heavens, Jill, I don't know.
He's very worried about it. Susan wants the money for a new fitted carpet.
The things you know never ceases to amaze me.
People tell me things. I've got a kind face.
Yes, well, thank goodness I haven't.
At least they usually do. I'm worried about Nigel, though. I'm sure he's keeping something from me.
Well, I should leave it like that if I were you.
You haven't forgotten he's coming to supper tonight?
Oh, he's not, is he?
Don't be so mean. We've got to welcome him home.
Well, I don't see why. He might never go away again.
Mr. Archer reckons that sale will be all right. We was really worried.
That's where he was all morning, was he? We needed him down with the sheep. Me and Master David was rushed off our feet.
Well, I'm supposed to be helping you this afternoon. He's got to go to Borchester.
Good. You picked a fine time to go gallivanting. Lambs all over the place.
That's to do with Laura Archer's will. I don't think he's best pleased himself.
Funny thing, though. Leaving Tom Forrest that money?
Yeah.
I wanted to pop down the bull this lunchtime.
Bad habit drinking in the middle of the day. Been the ruin of many a good man.
Oh, I didn't want to drink. I wanted to see Susan. She's giving Sid a hand.
I shouldn't fancy my wife being a barmaid.
Well, Clary was one. You didn't object to that.
That's different. She's my daughter.
Yes, Jethro, I know that. How is it different?
There's a lot of men in pubs.
Yeah, you're one of them.
Now, they sees a young girl, a man's daughter. They know she's just doing it for the money. They respect that.
My Susan's just doing it for the money.
But a married woman, they think, aye, don't her husband provide for her? What's she in it for?
The money to buy a fitted carpet for our baby to crawl on because your son-in-law won't cough up what he owes.
You were daft to sell him your van. I always said you were daft.
No, you didn't. You said it'd be nice for Clary to have one vehicle she knew she could rely on.
Yes, well, so it is. Don't mean you weren't daft to sell it to him.
I'd give her. I'll get more sense out of her, Emma. I'm sure she said Dada the other day.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
Afternoon.
I don't want to spoil your lunch. But David says if you could hurry up, he could use some help in the lambing pen.
I'll be along in a minute. I understand them, Chief.
It takes one to know one. Does he want me there?
No, that was the other thing. I've got to pop out to the vicarage in a minute, and there's that delivery due. Can you stick around the yard till it comes?
Yeah.
Oh, go in it. Pity Mr. Archer had to go into Barchester.
I expect I'll find something to do while I'm waiting.
Yes, well, it can't be helped. Ought to be a lesson to all of us. I hope you two have made wills.
Oh, yeah. I'll go and do it when my time comes.
Now, do you know when that'll be? Mrs. Archer's right.
Yes, well, I thought you'd be sensible, Neil. With little Emma to think about.
Clary and Rosie can fight it out between them. I shan't care.
I haven't actually made a will as such. I have thought about it.
Oh, Neil, you must. I mean, there's your egg business, as well as things like a guardian for Emma.
Anyhow, I'm all right. I got me little elephant.
Oh, no, not again. Eat your sandwich. The sheep are waiting for you.
The one that Nigel gave you?
Yes. Would you like to see it, Mrs. Archer?
Well, if you've got it on you.
He's never without it. He sleeps with it under his pillow.
Brings me luck, he does. And pleasant dreams.
Yes, I'm sure. My word, Eddie. That's a big bonfire.
Afternoon, Mrs. Archer. Yeah, well, there was a lot of rubbish in this churchyard. Never seen anything like it.
Yes. I thought Richard was planning to keep this corner as a sort of nature reserve, after he'd had the rest cleared last autumn.
Nature reserve? Blooming jungle, more like.
It certainly looks clear now. Positively barren.
Any road, I'm glad you've come. You can give me a bit of advice.
Oh?
Do you reckon the vicar wants them moles killed?
Well, I don't know, really.
All them elves don't have to make the place look untidy, I've got it straight.
Yes, I suppose so.
Only if they're one of his protected species, it's all the same to me.
Well, I should leave them. I know Richard's busy this afternoon. It's not really worth bothering him.
All right, I'll tell him you said so if he asks.
Yes, well, you can if you like.
Pity, really. I like killing moles. Got this method of my own that never fails. What you do, you say?
Oh, look, there's Susan and little Emma, too.
Where? Oh, blimey. If the vicar's that busy, I better get down and fetch me wakey before he goes.
Afternoon, Mrs. Archer. Hello, Eddie. You going somewhere?
Afternoon, Susan. Hello, Emma. My, aren't you getting a big girl?
Well, I finished here, if it's all the same with you.
You've done a good job for once. Looks a lot better.
I suppose so. I thought it had a tangled charm myself.
So very much. But I can do something right.
You might have tidied up the molehill. But yeah, I should think the vicar will be pleased.
One less thing for him to worry about anyway.
As long as he puts his money where his mouth is, I don't mind. Right, I'm off to see him now.
Agreed a rate for the job, did you?
Richard will pay you, of course he will.
25 quid. Reckon he's got his money's worth.
Well, you better go and collect it then. See you in the ball this evening, shall we? Celebrating?
My darling, if you keep smiling at me like that, might even buy you a drink. Afternoon.
He should give you that money to help pay off what he owes you.
He should, Mrs. Archer. And he's going to. Don't you worry about that.
So that's the position. The will isn't valid without a signature. So unless we can find another earlier will...
That's not likely, is it? They turned the place upside down to find that one.
Yes, and he thinks Mark destroyed all Aunt Laura's old wills for her. But he's telexing Hong Kong to check.
But if she did...
Then she dies intestate. And all her property goes to her next of kin.
Oh, no. Poor Freddie.
Yes, I'm not looking forward to telling him he's got no roof over his head.
He can stay there, surely, for the time being.
Well, I'm not going to turn him out, so I don't see who else is. And Lord knows how long it'll take to find an heir. That should give him a breathing space.
Why, yes. Who are her next of kin?
Well, no one in the village. We're only relatives by marriage.
But there might be someone in New Zealand, I suppose. However, you're going to find out.
Oh, I've told the solicitor to advertise in the papers there, but I really wasn't much help. She never talked about her family to me.
No. She seemed glad to have left all that behind her.
I mean, did she ever mention anyone to you that you can think of?
I'm trying to remember. There was a brother, wasn't there? Older than her. He must be dead.
Yes, but he might have children.
She never mentioned any nieces or nephews. You'd think she would have done. What happens if there aren't any next of kin?
It all goes to the Chancellor of the Exchequer.
It doesn't. Ambridge Hall and all Aunt Laura's pretty things?
Sold, and the money goes to the state.
Oh, that's awful.
Yes, I know. Oh, what a mess.
And poor Uncle Tom. He had such plans for his little nest egg. And Tony and the children. Come in.
Yes, well, I don't think Tony can quite have realised what the will not being signed meant.
Afternoon, Mr. Archer. Sorry to disturb you.
Hello, Neil. That's all right.
Trouble with the lambs, is it? I'll be right with you.
Yeah, we could do with a hand if you're free.
There you are, Phil. Take your mind off things.
Right you are then, Neil.
I've been thinking about what you said, Mrs. Archer, and you're quite right. I ought to make a will. Perhaps you could give me a bit of advice on how to go about it. Well, Mr. Archer was quite short with me. I was only asking.
It was hardly the best time, though, if he'd been at the solicitor's all afternoon.
Morbid, I calls it.
It is a worry. I've had to think about it, with there being only me and Lucy.
Oh, yeah, right. So what did you decide?
Oh, my eye, don't you start on about it. Will you send me little elephant, Susan?
Oh, the one that Mr. Pargeter gave you? No.
Just like Emma's stuffed elephant. Sin one, you've seen them all.
A set of African bongos he gave to Lucy. I do wish he hadn't.
It ain't at all like the stuff done. It's lucky. There you are.
Oh, it's lovely. Is it really lucky?
Oh, don't start him off.
Of course it is. Brings you long life and happiness. So you'd all better have a rub on it the way you've been of carrying on.
Anything all?
Oh, hello, Eddie. I'm glad you've come.
Are you?
Now, Susan, don't start anything.
Will you send me little elephant, Eddie?
Yeah, Jethro. Lovely. Well, what's everybody drinking? Vicar's just paid me and I'm feeling generous. It's your lucky night.
Oh, my. Last of the big spenders.
It's all right, Sid. I'll get it. Let's see the colour of your money then, Eddie.
I don't know if I want to drink with you, Eddie.
I'll have a pint.
There you are, darling. A brand new crisp £20 note. All yours.
Thank you, Eddie. And that's the way it's going to stay.
Susan, what are you doing?
Oh, it's a novel place to put it, Susan, but the till's over there.
What are you playing at?
That's where lasses used to keep their money. Of course, it was safe there in the old days.
What do you think you're doing with my money?
Keeping it. Towards what you owe us.
Oh, blimey.
Here, Sid. She can't do that, can she?
I think she can. In fact, I think she has.
Oh, we'll soon see about that.
You lay a finger on her, Eddie Grundy, and you won't know what's hit you.
Yes, I think you better leave the money where it is.
Yes, you had. And bring me the rest pretty quick.
Ain't nobody gonna buy me a pint then?
Well, I don't think it's going to be Eddie.
Not while I'm serving.
Don't seem to be your lucky night after all, Eddie. Perhaps you better give him a lend of your elephant, Jethro.
Aren't you going to be late, Nigel?
Just one more sundowner. I need some colonial courage.
You surely don't need courage to face those Archer girls. No, I don't know, though.
No, Phil. Should a friend of mine.
It's not them, it's Mr. Archer. I'm sure he's giving me the evil eye.
Arriving at his house late and drunk is hardly going to improve his opinion of you.
Oh, he's a bit fierce with everyone that's just his way. You take it too personally.
You don't understand. I think he's ill-wishing you. Johannes and Petrus used to tell me about it. The witch doctor pointing the bow.
They must have been a long way from home. That's your Aborigines.
Did you ever think they might have been taking the mickey?
They were deadly serious. People would just die or simply disappear. Ooh, creepy.
A waste to fill Archer's psychic energy. You're going to disappear anyway.
Nigel, they were having you on.
They disappear? What do you mean?
Back to Africa, when your uncle sends for you.
Yes. Yes, of course.
Don't you want to go back?
I'll say I do. What a life. Drinking sundowners in the bar of the wanky safari park. I'm afraid these still don't quite taste the same, Nelson.
Oh, I apologise for the absence of marauding wildebeests and gibbons swinging through the potted plants.
You could always ask Tim Beecher and his crowd round. Oh, never mind, Nigel. He'll be going back soon.
Yes. But Uncle wants me to have a good holiday. He thinks I need a rest.
You were hardly there long enough to do any work.
Were you homesick? You could have had a fabulous holiday in Africa.
Well, Juliet suggested Durban or Cape Town, but Uncle thought England would be the place.
Did he? I wonder why.
I suppose you've got your mum to look after you here.
That's it. It did take me some time to acclimatise myself. I've got a delicate metabolism.
You're going to give it a few jolts if you're going to bounce between continents like a yo-yo.
Well, perhaps I'd better be getting along. Don't want to keep Mr. Archer waiting.
I hope you have a good time. He doesn't turn you to stone with his glittering eye as you walk through the door.
Perhaps you'd like to take your Zulu shield back to ward off his evil influences.
No, it's all in the mind, Nelson. The shield wouldn't help.
Yes, Nigel, of course it is.
It will help me. It's fallen on me twice today.
Oh dear, they say that's very unlucky.
I should think they do. Especially if they drop it when someone's aiming a spear at them.
It certainly was for me. I was carrying a tray of glasses at the time.
No. It's an omen of impending doom. Oh dear, I wonder what's going to happen now. That was absolutely superb, Mrs. Archer. I don't usually like courgettes,
I did ask the girls.
but cooked like that, they were delicious. You are clever.
You see, Mum, doesn't matter what you cook, it's the way that you cook it.
The food in Africa agreed with you, did it?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Archer. It was wonderful.
Elizabeth's a long time taking the pudding.
I know some people with delicate stomachs just can't take it.
Do they use yams a lot? I've always wondered about yams.
Well, if you want the honest truth, Mrs. Archer, I'm afraid my uncle is a bit of an old stick in the mud. When I ate at his house, it was usually English food.
Afternoon tea at 4 o'clock.
Sounds delightful. How civilised. I bet you can't wait to get back.
When you ate there, I thought you were staying with him.
Well, I was in a sort of annex, really. Oh, England has its attractions. Lizzie, that looks splendid.
Mum made it. Sorry I was such a long time, but I was looking for a candle to stick in it.
I thought it was your favourite.
A candle? What are we celebrating?
Oh, Mrs. Archer, you're so kind to me.
Nigel's first week back in England, of course.
No one else appreciates my cooking like you do, Nigel. It's not just wolf it down.
We appreciate it when we get it. Thanks. We just don't get celebration dinners cooked for us very often.
Oh, that's not fair. You go to Africa and I'm sure Mum will cook you something special when you come back.
Yes, all right, I give in. Have a nice holiday, Nigel. Did you say when you were going back out there?
It's not quite settled. Hey, did I ever tell you about the Tusker Bar at the Wanky Safari Lodge?
Yes, Nigel, you did. And the elephant that flapped its ears at you.
You haven't told us about your trip to Victoria Falls, though. They must be so beautiful.
Or about the work you were doing for your uncle. Now, I'm sure that was fascinating. Rather difficult to learn African farming methods, though, I should have thought, in such a short time.
Well, as I said, my uncle's rather conservative. He tended to stick to English methods.
I want to know about your pet monkey. And is it true what they say about powdered rhino's horn, Nigel?
What do they say about powdered rhino's horn?
English methods in Africa? Well, it's a good job we had all these little chats about farming before you went away then, Nigel, isn't it?
Do you think Phil Archer's turned Nigel into a pile of chicken feathers and the smell of a goat yet?
I think you're going to have a dreadful hangover tomorrow.
Yes, I know. Oh, dear.
You can tell me your troubles, if you like.
No, you must get sick of it, the same old story.
It's tragic to see men driving beautiful, intelligent girls to drink. I presume my diagnosis is right.
As ever. Boring, boring, boring.
No. Futile, laughable, ironic, maddening, poignant.
Oh, same old story.
Jolly Jack Tar signalling to other crafts.
Oh, I don't know what he's signalling. Have you ever had a meaningless relationship, Nelson?
Have I ever had anything else?
No, you don't understand. You mean they weren't important. I mean literally meaningless. I don't understand what any of what's happened between me and Paul is supposed to mean.
This is not something a gentleman of my trade would do well to point out to many of his customers. But you won't find the meaning at the bottom of that glass.
You are a friend, Nelson. At least I can talk to you.
The ever-available shoulder, the ever-attentive ear.
You're about the only person I do discuss Paul with.
I'm honoured.
I'm pleased there is someone I can talk to about him. Otherwise, I might start to think he was just a figment of my imagination.
An adolescent fantasy come back to haunt one's maturity.
Yes. It is rather like that. That's well observed.
I had someone particular in my mind. Oh, don't worry, Caroline. I sometimes stand behind this bar and think this whole place is a figment of my imagination. One day I'll wake up and find myself living the life I should have led.
Yes. But if this is a dream, Nelson, who's dreaming it?
I used to think a lot when I was in Africa.
About me, Nigel. Tell me you thought about me.
Oh, Lizzie, I didn't know you cared.
She doesn't. She's just monumentally conceited. She likes to think the world revolves round her.
Don't squabble. And don't tease Nigel, Elizabeth. But now we're all so cosy.
Isn't it nice without Dad?
Yes. Well, I hope the you's all right, of course.
Enjoy the peace and quiet while you can. I don't suppose you'll be long.
That is no way to talk about your father. And I know you don't always see eye to eye with him, Nigel, but...
Yes, sorry, Mrs. Archer. I suppose I'm just enjoying basking in all this delicious female attention without having to share it.
Well, make the most of that too. Your novelty will soon wear off. Oh, that's the way to Elizabeth's heart. Go away for 2 months and come back for 2 weeks. Then repeat ad lib.
Absence has been known to make your heart grow fonder, madam, so I shouldn't throw stones.
Isn't this nice? So cosy, so relaxed. Such a wonderful family atmosphere.
Delicious Juliet, not up to our standards, was she not?
She did actually exist, I suppose.
Oh, I could see her very clearly from the description in your letters.
Oh, yes, she's a stunning girl to look at. But a bit...
Of a cow?
Certainly not. But it's still very colonial out there. At least my uncle is. And the girls do rather tend to think they're it.
And we aren't. Unhand me, you cad. All that thinking, Nigel, and you still don't do it before you open your mouth.
I see what you mean, Nigel. She was rather unapproachable, was she?
Well, yet. Not very chummy for a cousin.
It's all right. David's coping. I don't think we'll lose her. Oh, hello, Nigel. I thought you might have gone.
I'm being made so welcome, Mr. Archer. I can't bear to drag myself away.
We'll stay the night. There's bags of room.
Well, that's good news about the you then, Dad. Yes, Nigel. I don't know if you ought to drive. You have had rather a lot to drink.
Yes, that's true.
Oh, well.
I'll ring for a taxi for you, shall I?
And before you say another word, Phil, yes, this is black coffee I'm making, so there won't be any need for any more unpleasant innuendos.
Good. Well, the taxi shall be here soon. Perhaps I'd better get back to the girl.
You stay here. You've done enough harm for one night. How could you be so rude?
Me? Rude? How was I rude?
Practically ordered a guest out of our house.
He is in no fit state to drive, and neither are our daughters, and I'm not going to drive the blighter.
I could mind to take him myself.
I drove him to the station and hoped to see the back of him, but no such luck.
I don't see what you've got against him. I never have. What's he done this evening that's upset you so much?
What's he done? I go out for a few moments to see to that you, and I come back and see Nigel Partridge sitting embracing both my daughters with a glass of my brandy in one hand and one of my cigars in the other.
It wasn't embracing them, it's that's a tea. It's so soft. Everyone seems to roll into the middle.
No wonder I didn't find you perched on his knee.
Don't be ridiculous.
Well, I'm fed up, and it's all starting again, and I'm absolutely convinced that...
Mrs. Archer, I've come to apologise.
We told him there was no need. Now see what you've done, Dad? So embarrassing.
Oh, Nigel, don't be silly.
Apologise for what?
For abusing your hospitality.
Nigel, now who's being old-fashioned and formal? You see, Dad, that concept's right out of the ark. When you start laying the heavy Victorian bit on people...
I think we should apologise to you, Nigel.
Well, Nigel, as a guest at our house, naturally, you do have certain privileges, but on the other hand, one might expect...
I don't deserve them. You were right to be suspicious.
He was always like that. You should be used to it by now. Don't keep on about it, Nigel.
Of course you deserve them. Don't be silly.
Suspicious of what?
My so-called holiday. Me saying I was going back to Africa. You were right. I was an abysmal failure out there. My uncle couldn't stand me. I couldn't do the work, and the heat brought me out in lumps. Even the monkey bit me. They don't want me back. They don't want me there any more than you want me here.
Oh, Nigel. Dad, look what you've done.
Me?
I don't think I'm ever going to speak to you again as long as I live.
Hang on.
Oh, Nigel, you poor boy. Phil, how could you?
Oh, no. Oh, chap, I did just wonder. I mean, I didn't realise it. Would you like a cup of coffee?
Thanks all the same, but I think it'd be better if I just went. Don't you?
So how did he take it?
You know Freddie, he's of the old school, doesn't show emotion.
Stiff upper lip. Remember the honour of the regiment.
Don't mock him. He was very brave about it.
I think it might do him good to let go for once, that's all.
I don't know how I'd face being turned out of my own home.
He doesn't have to go yet.
Oh, no, of course not. All he said was poor Laura.
Poor Laura.
All her plans coming to nothing. Yes, well, that certainly wasn't all Tony said.
Perhaps the stiff upper lip has its advantages after all.
Not a thought for himself.
I'm glad you could come over this evening. We had such a row, and then he stormed off and went to the pub.
Oh.
I need to talk to someone to calm down.
I was glad to get out and cut the atmosphere in our house with a knife.
Oh, dear. You and Phil had a row, too.
Well, not exactly his best friend, but it's Shula and Elizabeth who are the problem. They're not speaking to him.
Really?
Will you ask Dad to pass the butter? All that stuff. It's driving me mad. Mind you, he shouldn't have done what he did.
What did he do?
Well, we had Nigel to supper last night, and Phil kept on and on at him until he confessed he wasn't going back to Africa after all.
Is that all? Lucky Africa.
Don't you start.
Oh, I suppose he's harmless enough, but he is the upper-class twit of the year, isn't he?
He's got a good heart, and that counts for a lot. It was a dreadful evening.
You should have been at Granny P's birthday party.
Oh? She and Tony had a terrible row over Aunt Laura's silver teapot, while Jennifer told them that there was more to life than material wealth.
What's all this about Aunt Laura's teapot?
Oh, Granny P reckons Aunt Laura promised her this teapot, and Tony said his money was coming out of the sale of her possessions, and Granny P said she supposed he wanted paying for it, and he said he was just pointing it out, and Granny P said if she couldn't have a keepsake from an old friend without her grandson carpet... Oh, do you want any more?
Sounds a bit like our evening.
They're so alike. No stopping them once they get going.
Nigel said it was an ill-starred night. His Zulu shield fell on Nelson's head.
I suppose Granny P will have to give the teapot back now.
I wonder if it's on Freddie's inventory. I mean, if someone does turn up from New Zealand, they're not going to know, are they?
Gee, I'm surprised at you.
I can't bear the thought of all Aunt Laura's things going to a stranger, and Freddie isn't getting anything.
Oh, for heaven's sake, don't suggest it to Tony. Or whoever it is will be lucky to find so much as a light bulb or a curtain rail by the time they get there.
So there we are, Nelson. All my high hopes wrecked. I shall just have to seek my fortune in this country.
Yes. Well, I wish you luck.
You don't sound very encouraging. And you don't think I'm fit. I wish someone did.
I think it's entirely to your credit you couldn't bring yourself to live out your life as an imperial remnant.
It wasn't so much that I couldn't bring myself to. It was more that they couldn't bring themselves to have me.
A retreat in good order is no defeat. When I think of the number of places I've tactfully withdrawn from...
It wouldn't be so bad if my welcome here had been a little warmer.
I might still be propping up a bar in one of the few remote corners of the world where the flag still flies.
Girls were pleased to see me, of course. Women are so sympathetic, don't you think so, Nelson?
Yes.
I was always able to get on well with girls. Even Juliet melted a bit for me.
You could perhaps take up a career as a gigolo.
Oh, no, I don't think I'm up to it. Anyway, it's the maternal feelings I appeal to in women.
That is irritating. I've been giving Caroline a father's support through her love troubles for some time now.
Mrs. Archer was so sweet to me last night.
And I don't know that I describe my feelings towards Caroline as precisely paternal.
But Nelson, you're years older than Caroline.
Yes. It makes the situation so poignant.
You're like me, a romantic. You enjoy having a broken heart.
I believe in bowing to the inevitable. It's much less exhausting.
That's why I like Lizzie. She's so cruel. She takes after her father.
And he's forbidden you the house. That's why I've got the pleasure of your company. Again.
No, quite the opposite. It's the girls who are sending him to Coventry. I feel quite bad about it.
You're all heart, Nigel. That's your trouble.
Well, I know he doesn't like my face, but that's more of a problem for him than it is for me. Perhaps I ought to go around and see if I can sort things out.
No, I should let sleeping dogs lie if I were you. But then I don't have your overdeveloped sense of social responsibility.
I just don't like to think of Mrs. Archer being worried. She's been so sweet to me.
In here, Jill, my dear. Come on in.
Sorry to bother you if you're busy.
Oh, that's all right. I'm nearly finished.
Betty, whatever are you doing?
Packing. I was never much good at it, I'm afraid. That's why it's taken me so long.
Packing? But where are you going? A little holiday?
Well, yes. I thought I might book into a hotel for a few days. Then perhaps one of my old messmates will put me up while I decide what's best to do.
You mean you're leaving Ambridge?
Well, I've got to leave Ambridge Hall, and I thought perhaps it'd be better to make a clean break.
Of course you haven't got to leave. Didn't Phil explain?
Well, Phil was very kind. But I've got absolutely no right to be here anymore.
Of course you've got a right to be here. It's your home.
Not anymore. It belongs to Laura's next of kin.
If she's got any. And it may take months to find them.
It wouldn't be right, my dear. It will be on my conscience. It's better if I go.
Still shocked by Aunt Laura's death. You're not in a fit state to make big decisions.
In here, Tony. But I shan't be able to make any decisions while I stay here, Jill.
Oh, I looked in the garden, but... Freddie, whatever are you doing?
He's packing. He's got it in his head that he ought to leave.
It's the logic of the situation, Jill. Really, my dear, you must believe me. I know what I'm doing.
Well, I'm sorry, Freddie, but I think you must be off your head.
Oh, thank you, Tony. Very helpful.
I'm being perfectly logical and rational.
Possession is 9/10 of the law. You aren't going to give up without a fight.
Oh, don't cloud the issue, Tony. Freddie's accepted he can't do anything about the will, but that doesn't mean he's got to leave.
The fight's gone out of me, Tony. The ground has been cut from under my feet. An old soldier knows when it's time to retreat, and that time has come.
pride, isn't it? The idea that he's living on charity.
Oh, he's got squatters' rights. He's a fool not to take advantage of them.
I hadn't thought of it like that. I thought perhaps the memories of Aunt Laura had suddenly got too much for him.
They weren't before. Seemed a comfort still to be living in her home.
Ha! Catch me moving out. We ought to stick together. Show this Aussie a united front. He's got a moral obligation.
I think the term is Kiwi, Tony, if you must be derogatory.
You're a fine one to talk about morals.
I agree with Tony there. Aunt Laura there ought to do something for Freddie.
And me. And the kids. And Uncle Tom.
Don't forget Granny P and her silver teapot.
It is an obligation. I wish I could get Freddie to see that.
He doesn't seem to realise he's got rights.
Duty. That's Freddie's watchword.
I suppose I should have thought of that before. If we could convince him that it was his duty to stay.
That's exactly what I was telling him.
To keep an eye on the property. To protect it.
Exactly. Pat, that's brilliant.
Only what I've been saying all along.
It's true enough, though, isn't it? You and Phil haven't got time to keep an eye on it.
That's the line I take. That he'd be doing us a favour, and the heir if ever he turns up.
He ought to get paid if he's going to be a caretaker.
You keep out of it, Tony. You'll only spoil it again.
Well, it needs one, a big place like that. It may be months before anyone comes to live there, or it's sold.
I'm only interested in what's right.
That's it. It's vandalism, deterioration of empty property.
Yes, I'm sure I can convince him.
Hello, Mrs. Archer. I just thought I'd pop round. Oh, hello, Pat. And Tony.
Nigel, how nice. I'm afraid the girls aren't back yet.
Hello, Nigel. Oh, yeah. Hear the white man's burden proved too much for you?
Shut up, Tony. Thanks for the little zebra you sent Tommy. He's very taken with it.
Oh, it was nothing. It doesn't matter, Mrs. Archer. It was you I came to see.
Really? Well, that's nice. Phil's out too, so...
Hey, hear that, Nigel? Now's your chance.
Tony, don't worry, Jill. I'm taking him home.
There's no need to rush away on my account.
Phil and Nigel haven't quite been seeing eye to eye, that's all.
Just a joke. Just a joke.
No, we were going anyway. Come on, Tony. You need to do a little work. Clear your head. Bye, Nigel. Jill.
Well, goodbye then, if you're sure.
Bye. Thanks for the idea about Freddie.
Bye, Nigel. If we meet Phil on our way out, I'll cough.
Don't take any notice of Tony. He's got a warped sense of humour.
That's all right. Actually, I'm quite glad Mr. Archer isn't here.
I think he does regret the way he behaved.
Oh, no, it isn't that. Tony, I wanted to thank you properly for what you did on Wednesday. And I couldn't do that if Mr. Archer was here. Now, could I?
Evening, Nelson. Can often see you in here.
I've been visiting my father. All that tea he pours down me makes me long for something stronger. Gin and tonic, please.
Coming up.
Caroline hasn't been in, has she?
No, not so far. You expecting her?
Oh, I mentioned I'd be in the neighbourhood.
Evening, Sid. Nelson. Evening, Colonel. There you are, Nelson.
Thank you. I presume that'll cover it?
Oh, yes. I don't go in for your outrageous markup.
I'll have a whiskey, Sid, when you're ready.
Well, let me get it for you, Colonel.
Right, you are.
It's very kind of you, Nelson.
No, not at all. I don't think I've had the opportunity to say how sorry I was about Laura.
You like it with water, don't you, Colonel?
Yes, please, Sid. Well, thank you, Nelson. I appreciate that. And I know Laura would.
A woman of character. Not so many of those around that we can afford to lose one.
No, you're right there, Nelson. Here we are.
Thank you. Would you mind if we made it a toast, then? To Laura.
Of course. To Laura.
God rest her soul.
Forgive an old man's foolishness, but I'm feeling rather emotional this evening.
Perfectly natural. No need to apologise.
You've been bearing up wonderfully well. Everybody thinks so.
Yes, I thought so. Actually, I'm glad I've come across you two. You can perhaps give me some advice.
Well, of course, Colonel. How can we help?
Anything I can do, you know. You've only got to ask. No change.
Oh, thank you.
I just wondered if either of you knew of a hotel where I might spend a few days. Preferably not too expensive.
I think you're taking a holiday. Very sensible.
It's a good idea. Get away from it all for a bit.
For longer than that, I'm afraid. Naturally, now I haven't got Ambridge Hall, I shall have to leave.
Evening, Nelson. Colonel.
Whose idea is that?
Evening, Nigel. Hello, Mrs. Archer.
Well, mine, naturally. I can't possibly stay.
Hello. Oh, Freddie, I'm so glad you're here.
2 gin and tonics, please, Sid. Ice and lemon.
Coming up.
It's what I feel I have to do. I must leave Ambridge Hall.
No, you mustn't. In fact, it's positively your duty to stay. Who's going to look after the place? We're asking the new owners until they arrive. But I can't do it.
Yes, Mrs. Archer hasn't the time to take anything else on.
It's always dangerous to leave property lying empty.
Sure, you can say that again, but I think of the trouble I had with Rose Cottage.
You'd be doing us a favour. And Aunt Laura's relatives, really, Freddie.
And it would be such a weight off Mrs. Archer's mind.
Look what happened when I left the wine bar empty.
Here we are, Nigel. Thanks.
Well, I suppose if you put it like that. But what does Phil say about it?
haven't had a chance to mention it, but I know he'd agree.
It backed Mrs. Archer up, naturally. Thanks, Sid.
Not very much.
Yes, I see that. Well, perhaps I had better stay then.
Oh, I'm so pleased.
Just for a little while.
Of course.
For Laura's sake. And for the ducks. Somebody's got to look after the ducks, haven't they?
The Archers